Welcome back to Channel Sport this morning. Mudashiru Shitu is in the building now, and whenever he's around, we're going to talk a bit of table tennis because he's a big fan of the sport. Mudashiru, it's great to have you on the show.
It's good to be here again.
I know, right? Yeah, I see you smiling a bit, and your guys could not bring home gold for Nigeria, but silver, it's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, it's not too bad, but it's a deadly cost because they won't be at the World Cup Championship earlier this year, which is also a point ranking tournament. So it's a big loss for both of them because I think Aruna needs that. And Edem, no Nigerian, apart from Funke Shinake, has won the African top 16.
You see what I'm saying? We can let Mudashiru go on and on, and we're not going to stop.
I think we're going to go to tennis later. Let's continue basketball, right? We'll go to tennis later. We have more time for that. We're not going to stop. So let's quickly talk about this one. You mentioned it earlier, hinted it that the Basketball African League is starting in March, of course, and Rivers Hoopers, the team that will be representing Nigeria, they actually, making some big moves. Now they have 3 players now they've signed. The first one was Kalon Tampin from a Kingsman in the US, an American guy. Then another American, Billy Baptiste, has joined. Then you have an Egyptian on the 3 players, an Egyptian, Ahmed Mohamed. That's another player that they've signed. Now, Baptiste spent his 2013-2014 season in the NBA, in the Developmental League, of course, which is mainly, he appeared in 42 games for the Jam, averaging 7.3 points, rebounds 4.3, and of course, assists 1.2. So these are the guys you're bringing into it to ensure that they beef up the squad and get something going forward.
Experienced player, is 32 now, small forward, and it's good to see Rivers, making these moves because that shows that they want to be competitive in this league. Is the first edition backed by the NBA, so it's going to be massive. Yeah, and we want to go there and play really well.
I think it should be historical for us because I've not seen a foreigner actually played for a local club for an Nigerian-owned basketball team. So, and this is a purpose of intention to actually say that they want to do something beyond the ordinary, and that's also to put the Rivers Hoopers on the map. When it comes to, because we don't have, except them, and perhaps of recent in First Bank, we don't have that Nigerian club, basketball club side on the global map. Perhaps maybe just in the zone 3 where we have the other countries there, but in the global map, we're being backed by NBA. It's a very, very good one. And I also want to think they should go beyond the Nigerian coach we have. You understand? Because I believe that. Yeah, I'm not saying because I believe so much.
Dada is actually listening to you right now.
Yeah, I believe so much in expertise, you understand, when it comes to basketball. You understand? Because I believe that they've got so much of
I think it's too late for that now because February's ending. It's too late. But I think, when you have a coach that's been with a team for a very long time, he understands the player better, the players better, and all he needs to do is to just bring in some key players, which they've done. Bringing in 3 key players. I mean, these guys have played in the NCAA, played some, basketball in the US and all that. So they're bringing in that experience to the players they have right now who don't really have that international experience because they're going to be playing against other players who played international basketball and all that. The Egyptians, for instance, Tunisians, we've seen how these guys have been able to, get some foreign influx into their own league. But in Nigerian league, because the past 2 seasons and all that.
We can only hope for the best for them.
So we just wish them all the best. But I love the way they are going, drafting in some players to join them so that they can at least compete at the BAL.
Compete, very important.
Yeah,
they won't get embarrassed.
No, they won't. They won't. They're preparing. I mean, they'll be playing friendlies and all, but then it's just at home. But I just hope that more can be for Rivers Hoopers so they can, maybe get out of the group and get something home if they can.
Fingers crossed. We'll find out indeed. Let's move on from
tennis. Yes.
Basketball now. Table tennis.
ITTF Africa Top 16. So
2 Nigerians in the finals, in the men's and women's singles finals. Let's start with the guys, or should we start with the ladies? Let's start with the ladies first of all. Dina, actually, let's start with
Aruna Quadri. Can you just start with Aruna Quadri? Yes.
The best player in Africa, taking on 40-year-old Egyptian Ahmed Salih in the final, and everyone thought, including myself, thought that was going to be a win for Quadri.
Them in this tournament, there'll be like double experience. Them herself, Funke, one of the best legends
She's
to
not
have in
gonna play
Africa.
herself, is she?
Yeah.
And thinking that we'll upset
Okay. Measure.
Dina
Okay.
Meshuab.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it's still the same 4-1 ever. 4-1 in 2019, 4-1 in
4-1
2018. So you want to ask yourself, we should do something about Dina Meshuab, unless we'll never see any female table tennis player that's going to come close to her.
She's
That's
the
what is-
undisputed queen of African
Yeah, sure.
Table
She's just
tennis.
table
qualified.
tennis, women's table tennis. So the others just have to step up the game.
That's the thing.
There's not two ways about it.
And I love what she says anytime when she says she's not really looking at what she has achieved in the past.
Yeah.
She just focuses on the game. That's just a focus. I wish other players can do that because Edem Offiong was saying something like, if only she can really stay focused on the game, a little bit of distraction, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, while she was playing, sometimes you're too eager to really win because everyone is expecting you at least third time lucky, as you mentioned. You wrote about it. She may have read about that article, and everyone is saying, look, it's time for you to actually defeat this 25-year-old. You've got the experience and everything, but then that pressure might just get to her. And Dina Meshuab, she's only focusing on just that particular game, winning it again, not looking at what she has done in the
and
past.
to be fair to Edem Effiong, in the African games, all of them, the African games
Yeah.
in Rabat, it was in the semi-final, it was between Cecilia Akman
Yeah.
and Edem Effiong against Dina Meshuab and her Egyptian counterpart, and they won. You understand?
Yeah.
And I was thinking that she can bring out that same spirit she had in
That's
Africa.
double.
That's doubles. I was thinking that perhaps would come out at least for the first
Yeah.
time, but fortunately, that didn't come out. And I think we should look inwardly. The Nigerian Table Tennis Federation should look at our female table tennis players that they are not the best.
How they
Funke
can
said that they don't treat them well, but beyond treating them well, they should really go for more trainings, do more better things, and so that.
That's
because-
one of the treating them well,
Well,
because
she
I mean,
meant-
if you're focusing on how to get money to travel for tournaments, I mean, that shouldn't be your focus. Your focus should be just train and be ready, not thinking of other things. I think having to think of other things you need to achieve and all that to take care of yourself and also play might just be not just good
Yes,
enough.
And lastly is the
Yeah.
fact that for decades, we might not be seeing any female Nigerian table tennis. I'm not a prophet of doom, but I think
That's what you're doing right now.
No,
Don't say
but
that
in the
because we
next
have
decade,
Fatima
in the
Bello. I
next
mean,
decade,
she's coming
we
up.
might not be seeing anybody reigning. Been just like the way Buster Kafo did
Mudashiru,
and Funke Shinake did.
Mudashiru, so
Yeah.
what you're saying is you don't rate the youngsters.
We did not make sure.
No, I mean,
she can be beaten, come on.
Ajoke Ojomo as well.
Ojomo as
There's,
well, yeah. Fatima Bello that you
Fatima
mentioned,
Bello,
that was
Esther
at the
Ogban.
Cameroon.
Cecilia Akman.
You don't, no, Cecilia is
Cecilia Akman, she's a
getting
bit,
on
just
in
like,
age now,
Offiong.
Offiong. I
Okay.
mean, those youngsters that I just mentioned now, Esther, Ajoke
Yes,
Ojomo,
of
you
course.
don't rate those.
Yeah, I
ladies.
rate them, but if the federation doesn't do more than what they're doing now, it's going to be Dina still a very, very long time.
But you remember what they did? I think I love what they did last year
Dina.
when they started this
The
women's championship.
Yes.
I mean, if they continue with that, I think that's just the way to
That's
go.
just the way it is.
Yes, that's it.
I think what
So we have to
Mudashiru is, I believe what Mudashiru is saying is that they have their work cut out now,
Yeah.
especially with this Egyptian Dina Meshuab
How-
just
okay.
dominating and showing no
Let's have a
signs.
thesis on how to
No
dethrone
signs.
Dina
Yeah,
Meshuab.
Do that.
No signs of stopping at all. So congratulations to Ahmed Salih of Egypt, as well as Dina Meshuab. They've won the African Top 16 Cup, and they will be representing Africa at the World Championship, at the World Cup in Dusseldorf later this year. Let's move on from tennis now to the Nigerian Professional Football League. A scheduled match played yesterday between Rangers International and Nasarawa United. Nasarawa United battling relegation, and what have they done? They've beaten Eimba and Rangers in back-to-back games. I mean, it's the results that you never saw coming. Abdullahi Lawal and Abdullahi Abubakar are scoring the goals for Nasarawa United. That was after Israel Abia had given Rangers a fourth-minute lead. And this kind of result is even more impressive because they've had to come back.
Yeah.
Cecilia, usually you concede that early. There's a tendency for you to, to capitulate, but they didn't do that. They recovered nicely to get all 3 points.
Fantastic for Nasarawa United. They have a proprietor that's talking. They have the chairman that's talking about Danladi Issa. He was happy about that, and I was happy too because I could imagine if it wasn't that win. But let's look at the 2 wins and examine that. I think both wins are the home win. You understand, which is also good. It took them to the 13th position on the table, and that should put Rangers like 16th on the log table, in the MPFL log table. So it's not a good one for Rangers. But for
Not at all.
Nasarawa United, they'll be going home against Wiki Tories in Bauchi. So they are not really so safe, because if you look at the points dividing the 13th position, which is Nasarawa, and the rest, it's just 3 or 6 points, if I'm not mistaken right now, and it's not a good one. Until they go to Bauchi, defeat Wiki Tories, which are also in a very still doing so well, you understand? And that's when they are really safe from relegation. A loss against Wiki Tories in Bauchi can actually make them still within the relegation. So except they get a draw or a win, then you know they're out of the relegation zone. Not a very good one for any other person too, because we also look at Eyimba, and we look at Enugu Rangers, not so much fantastic for them, but they've got games in hand to really take them also from not so good zone they are, not in the relegation zone, but are not where champions should be. Because I know Rangers, they've got that champion spirit. I know Eyimba, they've got that champion spirit. If they should win their upcoming games too, I think everybody, they have to go into a good position on the log. So it's still so much of permutation to whether you win this or you don't win that.
Good win for Nasarawa United. They're now on 25 points after that victory yesterday against Rangers International. So that will give them a bit of confidence.
Absolutely.
A bit of belief.
The climb of like 13th position right
Exactly,
now from that 19 that they were in.
Yeah, so that they can actually avoid relegation. But still,
they're still on the
long
bank
one,
a lot of games to play.
Lots of games,
exactly. Anything can still happen. But it'll be very interesting to see if they can build on these 2 results, because those are 2 massive
giants.
wins.
I don't know how they were able to do that.
Taking them down in the
just
space
take advantage of your home games and just win them. It's important. And then when you get away from home, try and get a point, and you see if you can. But I was surprised by, because Rangers, we talked about the fact that they got a draw away from home. They got a point. Thinking another away game where it can really be.
But you know how dangerous these relegation sides are. They're desperate, and
desperation setting, coach under fire. I mean, just saying either you're going to.
They don't want to go down.
Usually you suspend the
they
coach.
start with a 3-match ban. I don't think who else does that. They start with a 3-match ultimatum. If you don't win that,
then
you
they
have
suspend
to
you for a while. Then before you know it,
that.
you're no more.
And if you're a very big slot, a big coach, you probably survive all that. You start wondering what makes Stanley Guma has been with Rivers United for years.
He's getting results. He's not going to relegations. I mean, he's trying to be on the continent. He's been safe, and that's the reason. Let's move on and talk about Tokyo 2020. I mean, countdown continues to the games, and everyone is still afraid that the coronavirus might just be a factor in this one. It's 147 days to go to the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. And of course, we in Nigeria here, we have our own problems. It's all about peculiar problems.
Yeah.
It's all about funding, and that's what the sports minister is talking about this morning. Funding has been a major issue, the reason why preparation is usually very late, because it doesn't come early. Hopefully, subsequent Olympics, we might get it better. But then let's listen to the sports minister before we get reactions from the studio.
Well, it's tough to just nail it down to one single issue. But funding is key. Like they say, is the economy stupid? Is funding stupid? And just look at the facts or the statistics. You look at countries like the UK, South Africa, Jamaica, United States of America. You look at the funding that goes into sports, particularly preparation for Olympics, is shocking. What we have is just pittance. For instance, most of them have lottery funds. Jamaica, 33% of lottery fund goes directly into funding, grants for the athletes. It also takes care of the athletes. You look at South Africa, about 41%. You go to the UK, about 34%, direct funding. Nigeria, it's 0, unless you just go to lottery fund and then you try to make a case, and then they give you some money. And it's tough. We have 38 federations. We have a limited budget. They have qualifiers. We have to fund them. And that's why we came up with the idea of having our federations be like quasi-NGOs. The government cannot fund them 100%. So we say, well, from time to time, we can fund you 30%, 40%, and also provide some other support that are non-cash-based. But then you have to go there and look for sponsors. And then they've been able to bring sponsors independently. You know, whatever they get from sponsors, they're not really accountable to the government because it's not government money. We've seen that work a bit, but it's not been enough. And so funding is key. And then you tie funding to long-term planning. You also need funds to do that long-term planning. We want to send our athletes to virtually all the championships that they can go to. Buy them tickets, support them, pay them some training grants and allowances. It's also a function of money. So you might have the best plan as a federation, as a Ministry of Sports. If you don't have the funds to support the implementation of that plan, you will not succeed. Don't also forget, sports is big business. Whether it's athletics or football, basketball, it's big business. Where is Nigeria's business model? Where's private money in our sports development? It's, the world over is 1.3 trillion, the sports industry. In the UK, 34 billion annually. In the US, 31 billion. In Nigeria, 310 million. So we have seen this, but the challenge is that it's not enough to talk about this disparities. It's about what are you doing in a very systemic way in terms of policy actions to make sure that you change the fundamentals of our sport development. And that's what has engaged us in the last 5 months as a ministry.